any opportunity to speak is a great opportunity as far as I'm concerned. You know, taking politics kind of out of it for 1 second, this is really just a universal universal issue, and really we have universal solutions as we all have voices. So that's one of the things that I always like to kind of just put out there. I'm very encouraged as I look around the room because as your party does have really good local what's the word I'm looking for? Involvement, I guess, in this field. So for people that are homeless or marginalized, living in poverty, I know Eric sits on our Alliance to End Homelessness chapter. Obviously, Andrew is heavily involved through his day job of Back to Basics, and we have a great community partnership. So we're very thrilled that we could be a part of this to just, again, express kind of what's going on locally in Barrie for the homeless and at-risk population. So as Peter has shared, I am the Executive Director of the David Busby Street Centre. I've been there for 4 years, and I could not love my job anymore. As much as I'm living, working in such a sad field, I learn something new every day, and as most people have one dysfunctional family, I'm lucky enough to have 2. We work with some really great people as staff and volunteers, and also the people that are living the experience every day. And those are the real experts. As far as I'm concerned, you can put as many letters behind your name as you want, but the real experts are the ones that are living this every single day. We are operating at downtown Barrie, so just actually around the corner from here, in the basement of Trinity Church. We've been there for 18 years. So we're a drop-in center during the day. We don't have overnight shelter, but we have a variety of services within 2,000 square feet. It's very little quarters. That's why I'm really good at makeshifting things. We have case managers there so that when the 150 to 200 people that come in a day are able to access services. So we have 3 case managers that are there working with people on housing, mental health, addiction, life skills, depending on what else is coming up for them. If we don't know what to do, we Google it, and we figure things out because we want to be able to help people help themselves, and that's really what our mission is to really give people a hand up. These are our neighbors and our friends and our co-citizens, so we want to make sure that we're giving them that hand up. As I said, it was 18 years ago that the Street Center started, and it was founded by a lovely woman named Mandy Hilliard, who still is very involved with the center. She is was a registered nurse, and realizing that there was homeless issues in Barrie, and this is 18 years ago, so you know it's been a long time already. So she noticed that there was some people struggling. She went up to them and she just said, "Okay, you know, what can we help you with? How can we help you help yourself?" And the individual said, "Well, we need help with housing, and we need help with addiction services. We need help with mental health support. We just need help. We need somewhere where we're accepted." A lot of people turn their eye to us and don't want to talk to us. So we just want somewhere where we can feel wanted. So she approached Trinity Church, and the Busby Center was born. David Busby was the reverend there, and he offered up the space, and the David Busby Street Center was born. Nora Busby actually still volunteers to this day. She just had her 83rd birthday, and every Tuesday she comes in and volunteers. Unfortunately, David passed away 9 days after the center was opened, but his spirit still lives on, and we're very fortunate for that. So within the center, again, we have the 3 case managers. We also have healthcare, because we all know that how hard it is for us to find healthcare, never mind if you're struggling with mental health and addiction, or poverty, whatever is presenting for you at that time. So we have accessible healthcare. We have a nurse practitioner from Victorian Order of Nurses, and we also have now, we've received a Baxter grant through Baxter Pharmaceuticals in Alliston, an international grant to hire a registered nurse. So we are very fortunate. Through this healthcare component, I call it our healthcare team, and it's quite funny because, you know, we say our healthcare wing and it's 2 makeshift offices off to the side. But these people are very important and play very important roles in individuals' lives. We had a woman that came into our street center about a year ago. You know, about 45 years old, and she would come in and she would constantly be carrying her jacket over her right breast. And, you know, our staff would kind of build that rapport with her, because it's a lot of trust and rapport. And she didn't know what to do with herself, so she just said, you know, I don't think I'm gonna, I just don't know what to do. Like, my one breast is bigger than the other, and I don't know what's going on, and, you know, this is really strange for me, but, like, how am I gonna get a boyfriend? Like, that kind of really simple thoughts going on for her. And our case managers then got her into our nurse practitioner. She struggled with addiction, so she would not go to the hospital. So our nurse practitioner got her facilitated with specialists and had all the exploratory tests that she needed. She actually had a 4-pound tumor removed from her breast. We don't know if she would have went through the steps that was needed, that was needed for her own health care, if that rapport wasn't built, if that accessibility wasn't there, you know, if she was being judged in any type of setting. It would have been very hard for her. So we were happy to be there and be there for that woman, to be able to give her that hand up. She's now doing well. She's in recovery. She is from not only her cancer, but also her addiction. And she is coming in with a smile, the odd time now, just to say hi and thank you. And that's really what means so much to us. Success can be measured in so many different ways, right? So that's definitely a success for us and for her. We definitely struggle, I must say. The way that I kind of explain our center is that we have a lot of broken systems in this country. And, you know, I know that the Green Party is definitely looking at how they can help with some of these broken systems. But there are some really severely broken systems, and we as a community and these individuals kind of are the collateral damage of some of these broken systems. We have people that are severely mentally ill. Their struggles are beyond anything that we can comprehend. Their behaviors come out as such that people are afraid. We live in a very fear-based society. You see somebody acting out and you want to stay away, you want to walk on the other side of the street. And that doesn't necessarily help that person. You know, yeah, approach everybody with caution. But we also want to make sure that we're not judging somebody on their behavior. Nobody should be judged on their behavior, just as I shouldn't either. You know, your behavior is just something that happens. It doesn't define who you are. We're still human beings. We're still brothers and sisters and neighbors and all those things that I spoke of earlier. And so it's so important as a community that we give hands up to people that are really struggling. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, we want to get these people help. We want people to be able to live with mental health. That's absolutely right when we talk about the Mental Health Act, but we also need to be able to facilitate getting them help when they're cognizant, or when they're not thinking that they need help sometimes, because there's definitely a need for some very severely sick individuals. And on top of that, what we're seeing now is a thing called concurrent disorders. So people that are struggling with addiction on top of mental health, and it's posing as extremely hard to handle or hard to serve people. And it's frustrating for our organization, I know locally. You know, right now at this time we see 5 individuals, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. 5 individuals specifically that we can't even get into shelter because the shelters are at their capacity of what they can handle. The Out of the Cold is not able to facilitate taking these people because of their behaviors, again, because they're at their capacity. So where does somebody like this go? How do we help them? How do we not have them sleeping on the street at nighttime? Like, it's getting cold. Well, it is cold out there. So how do we help? How do we as a community come together to really put forth some solutions to helping our neighbors that are struggling? At the David Busby Street Center, obviously, we're always looking for solution, and you know, I always say that we're not unique. You know, we're not a unique community. These are unique problems. This is happening other places. What are other areas doing for this in this kind of work? So in December of last year, we actually traveled to Cambridge, Ontario. Cambridge, Ontario is very similar to Barrie. You know, there's little different pockets of area. We have our downtown and we have our south end and north end and east end and all these different places, as do they. And there was some volunteers there that were seeing during their out of the cold, they didn't know where people were going during the summer. So they started to ask questions again, just as Mandy Hilliard did in our area, and realized that they were living outside during the summertime. They weren't accessing services because there were not services to access. So they came together as a community, and there was 3 volunteers from their Out of the Cold program that started this movement. And they decided that they were going to build a facility that would be a multi-use facility. So it was a shelter, it was the Out of the Cold for the winter, it was emergency shelter beds, it was a drop-in center, and also a transitional housing. So 20 transitional units for people to be able to access. Some will transition into other homes, you know, that's what transitional means, right? Keep them for 6 months or so, help them out with their budgeting, etc., and then move on. But some are there semi-permanent. Some people need that extra supportive care, that just to be able to cope with what's going on for them. So inspired by that, we came back and we spoke to the mayor, and we spoke to the county, because the county actually facilitates the social services for our area. And we co-sponsored an event. We had Ann Tinker, who is one of the volunteers that started Cambridge Shelter. They've been running for 5 years now. She came up and spoke of how she was able to build this facility. And as far as I'm concerned, it's inspiration. We all need a little inspiration. We all need to know how can, you know, we see it built. How did you get there? How can we come together as a community and do the same type of thing? So the county and the city co-sponsored an event. We had Ann speak about all of the different components that needs to happen, you know, advocating at the political levels, advocating at the private levels, just making that commitment as a community that this is something that we need and something that we want for our neighbors. So we've now been making huge strides. We believe that it's about collaboration. We work with Back to Basics, Andrew at Back to Basics, Elizabeth Fry Society, Salvation Army, John Howard Society, all these different agencies to say, okay, how can we do this as a collaborative? We don't want to own it. We don't want to take on and duplicate services. We want to work together in a community. And we are getting closer and closer every day. But again, it comes down to community support. So, you know, it's kind of my little plug of the day. When you hear of these things that are happening in your community, get behind them. These are huge movements for some very vulnerable and ill people. It's not getting any better, unfortunately. It's getting worse. We have to be able to think of solutions that are going to be sustainable. We were talking about sustainability earlier. As the economic times are not the greatest, we're seeing higher numbers of families, we're seeing huge numbers in seniors because the baby boomers are now becoming those seniors. The pensions are not the greatest, so again, struggling in poverty. We need to be able to hit it head on on a local front, as well as a country. We need to be able to look at that as well. But I think if we all take our piece of the puzzle in a local sense, then we can make such a difference as a unified front to go forward and make larger steps as a country as well. We need to be able to just stand behind people that are needing us. You know, we want to be setting good examples for our generations to come. As I see young children here, I wanted to bring my daughter today too, I should have, because I look at my daughter and I go, great, I know that she gets it, she knows what I'm talking about right now, because we need to look after each other, and it comes in so many different forms. You know, Eric was talking earlier about the economics. We need to be able to make conversation about how that affects everybody. You know, it's not just about how it affects businesses and tax write-offs and all that kind of stuff. It's about how it affects all of us and how we can be unified in that. So these are the things that are happening. We're kind of doing what we can at this point with the Busby Center, and of course the help from our community partners and the Alliance to End Homelessness on how we can make a difference as a smaller group. But I think educating each other about not, you know, switching sides of the street when you walk past any of our staff, you know, our services makes a big difference too. Saying hello to people, not being afraid of behaviors, embracing them, realizing that people are not well, and look at them as still that little baby that came out. You know, that's the one thing I always look at is, okay, there's somebody they've been somebody's child at one point, and now they're presenting as something else, but there's still that child inside, and how we can support them. So I just think that that's a huge component of our community. So thank you for having me here. I always like to just kind of do my little rant and then take questions, because I think questions are extremely important, because I might not cover everything that you want to know about. So please feel free to ask me, and thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
With that respect you were talking about, do they get that with voting? Like, are they allowed to vote because they don't have a vote?
Yeah, we've actually, the last, like I said, I've been with the center for 4 years. I've been in every role there. I've been in fundraising, I've been in case management, now I'm the executive director. One of the things that I really took on was, because I've grown up in politics, my dad was in politics, I think everybody's voice is important. So I actually contacted Elections Canada, and they set up, they actually gave us affidavits so that we could get people on the voters list. They used our location as the Busby Center because some people don't have a fixed address. So they would use our location, and then same in the provincial election. They actually, Elections Ontario came down and did a whole getting people on the registration.
And has it been effective?
Yes, it's one of those things where you need to educate people again, right? It's just like, you know, you can go to the library and do the same education, but we want people to be able to use their voice effectively, and because the people that we're working with have been in the working field. Some have been in the working field, some haven't, but some have some really great insight to what's going on, and we want to get that across. And sometimes it's a fear-based, so making it accessible. At first it was like, well, just tell them to come sign up. It's not accessible, it's too intimidating. So having them be able to access their voting and that kind of stuff within our organization took away that barrier for people to get their voices out there.
Well, the fact that they haven't given up is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I love what I'm hearing when you say you're working with other organizations, so there's no duplication of services, you're not, splitting money or something like that. And you mentioned several organizations, including the Elizabeth Fry, and I'm wondering how well is that working? Are these other organizations feeling the same way? Because I certainly love to hear that we're streamlining things like that. So how well is that working for you?
You know, it's gotten, like I said, in the last 4 years, it's become a really great collaboration. I think the Alliance to End Homelessness has done huge work around this, of getting all the organizations to the table. Funding always becomes an issue, right? You know, everybody wants to be able to provide their service, and then it's like, okay, you've got this much money to do this much work. So there's been that kind of, oh, well, we better not share that with them. It's not like that anymore. We're all kind of supporting each other and being able to kind of say, okay, you're already doing that, great, how can we help you do that better? Or how can we take that off of your burden for now? It's all about collaboration, because we're all serving the same population and we all have similar missions. So that's the great part. Yes, Eric.
How far along are you on the project to have a single shared facility like the one in Cambridge that would have drop-in and outreach and maybe fold out the cold into that and transitional and maybe move the gap into that facility as well? What stage have you got a site located? Or?
We have a potential site located. We actually received money from CMHC, so the Canadian Mortgage Corporation. They are supporting the needs assessment and the kind of the initial steps that are needing to be taken. Like I said, the city and the county are hugely involved in this. The city has actually assigned a staff person to this project. So I have that person at my arm's length at all times. We are meeting pretty much monthly. Right now we're meeting kind of weekly because there's so much going on. There's some really great steps being made. So there's a lot of hope. And positive hope. I'm a visionary, but I'm also a realist, right? So I know that this will happen, and I know that it's going to happen soon. So we'll be rolling out kind of public information about that very soon, and it's very important to get behind.
Without jumping the gun then,
Mm-hmm.
have you got potential sites lined up that are close enough to the downtown to be effective? Because I know a lot of the meetings I hear, especially either downtown businesses or other people saying, well, let's put this out in an industrial area or somewhere where it won't disturb anyone, where it becomes completely useless because all the people who need the center can't get there because buses don't run there, and they can't afford taxi, and they can't drive there. And it has to be basically right in or at the edge of the downtown core. And I know some of the locations suggested would be useless even if you had them for free because nobody can get there.
Yeah. So
how optimistic are you about getting a really good accessible downtown?
The one potential site that we're looking at, I think, is a huge. I think it's a very positive step. There's a rollout from the city right now that's kind of changing all the busing systems as it is anyways. I'll be honest, the city transit doesn't really affect it as much as the buses that are coming in from Toronto and North Bay and that kind of stuff, those longer routed buses, because really not too many people can afford to take the city transit anyway. So, but we want to be in good proximity to where those longer duration buses are coming from, and right now that's kind of looking at coming from the Allendale. That's kind of the city plan that's been rolled out. So that's one of the proximities that we're looking at, because we believe that we need to be in close proximity to that, and we want to be accessible to downtown as well. We can't be too far away from that. There's too many things that are going on for people. So. Yes.
The idea of government is it should be looking after people in need, the welfare of the population. What is your